Today we're going to rebuild a 7000 F pump. We've already disassembled the pump and pulled all the old parts out. Now we've laid out our parts on our drawing that comes in each pump kit. We're now going to reassemble the pump one step at a time. Now we're going to rebuild the inlet check assembly. It's 3 O-rings and a check wafer. Pay close attention to the drawing here and make sure the sealing surface on the wafer is pointed down and the shiny side with the X is facing up with a little bit of lube on the sealing surface. That's completed now. Now we're going to assemble the discharge check assembly, which includes 5 O-rings and 2 check wafers, and you'll need the bolt included in your parts kit to reinstall the sleeve to the center of the check body. Check wafer 1 goes up with the sealing surface facing up. Now we're inserting the sleeve back into the check body till it snaps. Now we're putting the O-ring on the top cap and installing the check wafer, again with the rubber sealing surface facing up. You want to tighten this good and tight so that next time you remove it, the complete assembly will come out of the pump. Now you have your 3 external O-rings, the base O-ring, the backup O-ring, and the O-ring for the top of the discharge check. We're going to start with the diaphragm cartridge assembly. It includes a diaphragm and 6 O-rings. Before installing the 2 O-rings in the back of the cap, it's a good idea to put some grease in there to hold those in place. A lot of times they like to jump out over the sharp edge and they can be cut as soon as you put pressure on them. Install the diaphragm, spring and piston go back in. Now you're going to screw the cap on until it clicks when it runs out of threads. Now you have 4 external O-rings. And that's the completed diaphragm cartridge assembly. Now we're going to assemble the plunger seal cartridge assembly. 2 seals, 2 O-rings, and a guide bushing. There goes the guide bushing in. The seal on top of the guide bushing. The cap on top of the seal. Use your Allen to screw that in snugly. Now we're going to install our seal and 2 O-rings on the bottom. A little lube on both. And now we're all finished with the plunger seal cartridge assembly. Now we're going to reassemble our plunger with the spring, U-cup, and dampener, and the cap for the oil reservoir with an O-ring. When you install that U-cup, make sure the cup's facing up. Make sure it seats all the way down in the top of the piston. Be sure you lube it real well. Then you take your spring and your dampener, install those under the top. Now our O-ring goes on our cap for our oil reservoir. Now we're going to reassemble all our parts into the pump body. And we're going to start with the diaphragm cartridge assembly into the front. Next, we're going to install the plunger seal cartridge assembly back in the top of the pump body. Inlet check goes in the bottom. Be sure you keep the pump held upright. That way the check wafer doesn't flip or get out of its seating surface. Now we're going to install the discharge check in the top. The last step, we're going to pre-fill the system with hydraulic fluid so that when we put our plunger in, it goes straight into fluid and there's no air trapped. So we're going to fill at the reservoir until it comes up right in the center of the pump in the plunger seal cartridge. Now we're going to install our spacer. Now we're going to put our plunger straight down into hydraulic fluid, and we're going to push it all the way till the piston stops, then let it up as far as the spring brings it, and then we're going to install our cap. Be sure when you're installing the cap that you take note that there is a ridge inside the cap that'll catch on your U-cup on the piston. Put it on at an angle and then carefully screw it down till it stops.